Hi people, what's happening? So, crunch time in the Premier League, as we all know, and the situation, just to remind everyone, Arsenal have played 37 games, currently have 86 points. Manchester City have played 36 games and have 85 points. So essentially, there are 3 games left for both, if you combine the amount of games Man City and Arsenal have to play, starting with Man City's match tonight against Tottenham at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Now, I think the Premier League hinges on this game. 95% hinges on this game. There's still permutations, obviously, but essentially, if Manchester City win this game against Tottenham Hotspur, it would appear as if the Premier League title would go to Manchester. In terms of probability, I would put 95% chance if Man City were to get through this Tottenham test. Then it would go to the last day where Man City are home to West Ham, which would appear Man City would be the strong favourites. Arsenal at home to Everton, which is a difficult game. I think it's more difficult than Man City's final game. And that's the other element. Because I think even if Spurs were to take points off City tonight, I still don't think it's a formality that Arsenal then go on to win the league. I think obviously we would be overwhelming favourites, but I think Everton are a very good team, very good defence. Let's not forget that David Raya has only just picked Jordan Pickford to the Golden Glove. They've kept a lot of clean sheets. They're in form. They've beaten Liverpool. So that's not an easy last day for Arsenal if they have to win. But let's take care of the first match. And I know people, this video is a little bit different because we're looking at the holistic title race rather than breaking down Arsenal's performance per se. But I'll come to that later, Arsenal's recent win against Man United. But first of all, the most pressing topic really is this title race and how it's going to unravel. So, Man City against Tottenham. How do I see this one going? Well, as an Arsenal fan, I've honestly been really buoyed and really encouraged to hear what Ange Postecoglou has said in his pre-match press conference. I've actually listened to it all. And he's very forthright. He's very strong in this sense that Tottenham are going to go out there and give the best of themselves and try and win this football match. And I really respect that from Postecoglou. And honestly, if this was Arsenal in the other situation, I would want exactly the same thing from an Arsenal team. I would want Arsenal to push for the win because I only care about Arsenal. That is my only worry. And I want to see Arsenal be as high up as they can to show as much progression at all times, to show that they can handle tests. Because if you look at it from Tottenham's perspective, if they get into this sort of half-hearted, flimsy habit of not trying hard in games because it's potentially going to help a rival, doesn't set a promising precedent for what they're trying to build. And this is what Postecoglou was hinting at in his press conference, is that what he cares about is the long-term success, the long-term growth of Tottenham. And in order to do that, as he mentioned, you've got to get used to these pressure environments, testing yourself against the best, because that's the barometer of where you're at as a side, and it gives you your indicators, where do we need to improve. So I completely respect what Postecoglou is saying, because it's how I would feel if the situation was reversed and Arsenal were going for top 4, but it may help Tottenham win the league. So I'm really encouraged to see that, people, and just to explore what may need to happen. Where, as an Arsenal fan, obviously we'll be watching the game tomorrow, even though it doesn't obviously involve Arsenal. It's Tottenham against Man City. But just to give a little flavour for people, where I think Tottenham could hurt Man City, I think I was seeing evidence of a little bit more verve and attacking thrust in their play in that recent match against Burnley that they won, obviously 2-1. They came back from behind, and I'm hoping they can continue with these encouraging patterns of play, because I didn't actually do a video after the North London derby. I had a couple of weeks where I didn't do a video, and I was actually very impressed with Spurs that day. I thought they were possibly, I wouldn't say the better of the two sides, because I felt as if Arsenal, we we had a game plan and we were very effective with that game plan. And once we got the 3-0 lead, I felt like we were actually in control in that second half until Raya obviously made the mistake to allow Romero to score. But in general play, I thought Tottenham was showing that they could create. They could add numbers in their attacking moves to create maybe overloads or opportunities where they could get into situations where they could play 1-2s and create opportunities in front of goal. I think they need to stick to that blueprint. I think they need to go out on the front foot, get Porro bombing on the right-hand side from right back. I think Bentancur needs to be adventurous with his running from midfield. I know Udogie's injured, which is a blow for Tottenham because having him down that left would have also been beneficial. So who do they go with at left back? Will Skip stay there? I'm not sure. And I think Van de Ven needs to come forward and add to their attacks because that goal he scored against Burnley was first class. So I think Tottenham have got game changers that can upset Manchester City. And if they approach this game with a real belief that they can beat City, that they can really aspire to achieve their aspirations, which is ultimately a Champions League place, then I think they can beat Man City. I think what will be interesting is how the Tottenham supporters are in the match, in the stadium, because Postecoglou said he would be very surprised if the fans weren't fully behind the team and wanting them to win. Because I do feel if Tottenham's fans are fervorous, or if they're encouraging, if they're supportive of their team, I think Tottenham can win the game. I definitely think they can. If you remember 2 years ago, people, when Arsenal and Tottenham were in that top four battle, that atmosphere at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium was very volatile. It was very intimidating. It was a cauldron that Arsenal was stepping into. I don't expect it to be like that because obviously there might be an element of confliction amongst the Tottenham fan base in the sense that they're not 100% sure what they want out of this game because they don't want to see Arsenal win. So will they be fully behind the team? But even if they aren't, I still think Tottenham can go there and beat Man City. I think there's a 30% chance that Tottenham can take something from this game, whether it's a draw or a win. And I think it's more likely to be a win than a draw because obviously a draw is no good to Tottenham in terms of their top four aspirations. So I think there could be a 30% chance Tottenham win this game and a 70% chance Man City win, with the draw somewhere maybe a 5% in amongst all of that. So that's how I see that game, people. Obviously, as an Arsenal fan, I and the whole fan base, we're desperate for Tottenham to win this game because it would just be the most watershed, exciting, groundbreaking moment for Arsenal as fans if we were to approach this final weekend with destiny in our own hands. I think that would just be something incredible, to have destiny in our own hands to potentially win the Premier League title. And I think it could be the case, people. I really do. Let's see. Just reflecting, people, on that Manchester United game, the last one that we won 1-0. Job done. I haven't got too many qualms, people, that it wasn't our best performance. I didn't think we were at our fluent best. I didn't think we were keeping the ball as well, with as much control and composure and skill as we normally do. The patterns of play just weren't quite as clear-cut. I didn't think our midfield trio was in the same synchronicity as it was in other games, let's say against Chelsea. I thought that three of Partey, Rice and Ødegaard were just on the same page at all times. I didn't feel the same sense against Man United. And I also feel that Man United were showing a little bit of heart and adventure and intention to try and win the game. I think they had a bit of motivation and they were playing well. I thought Amrabat and Mainu were pretty good in midfield. Onana was very impressive in goal. I thought he made some clutch saves, one from Martinelli, a couple from Rice, one from Ødegaard. And his distribution was also pretty good. And obviously Man United did create some moments, but we were ultimately able to weather those moments. I didn't think it was all down to authoritative, assertive defending. I think at times it was due to Man United's wastefulness and lack of clinical edge in front of goal. Garnacho a couple of times Højlund once. So I didn't exactly feel we had it completely under control. I will say I thought Saliba was phenomenal. I thought he was imperious at the back, just intercepting everything. It's a couple of clutch tackles, one from Garnacho, and a few times he just dribbled out from the back. And I just feel, people, he's just such a good player, William Saliba. I just think he's the best defender in the world. I really think William Saliba is the best defender in the world. And I just think he's stepping up. He's played every minute of the Premier League season. He's just such an imperious defender. Obviously very strong, fit person to have been able to play those 37 games without missing a minute. Understanding of the game is superb. Excellent combinations with Gabriel. His ball skills to dribble out from the back. How many times do you see him? Sometimes it looks like for half a second he's in a bit of trouble. He's being pressed by the opposing attacker, but then he'll just turn the other way and dribble out. And you think, okay, no panic at all. Saliba's advancing us up the pitch, and just so impressed with him, people, in that game. So obviously Arsenal, we've taken care of business. Leandro Trossard with another clutch goal. Havertz did very well with the cross. I agreed with Paul Merson's analysis that it would have been easy to just fizz the cross over and sort of say, yeah, I've done my job, if the attacker wasn't able to get on the end of it. But he actually waited for the right moment to play the cutback, and he directed it in the perfect spot for Trossard to come onto it and convert it. So we got the win, people. Over to this next match. Can Man City respond to it? That's the big question for me, because I think Man City have pretty much had things their own way in recent matches. But I think in this one, it'll be the first time where they're up against a good team with something to play for. They've been up against Nottingham Forest, who had something to play for, but Nottingham Forest are in a relegation fight. So they're in 17th. They're not as good as Tottenham. This time, Man City are up against a team in 5th place, at their place, with something to play for. This is not a foregone conclusion that Man City will win the game. Of course they might. And if Man City then go on and win both of their games, fair play. Fair play. They would have deserved it if that is to be the case. But the whole story hasn't been written yet. So we need to just see what happens in this next match against Tottenham, because you never know, people. Tottenham could help us out in this game. They could really do us a favour. Let's see how it goes, people. We do obviously need Tottenham to do something. In all likelihood, I think it's more likely they do than West Ham. So let's see how it all unravels. All right, people. Let me know if you have any thoughts on this video, on the discussion of the general title race, things like that. But yeah, let's hope Tottenham can do us a favour, people, and Arsenal can go into that final game with a chance to win the Premier League title. How good would that be? All right, people. Peace. Love.